Hello and welcome back to Q&A with Champchi, the political fish. And this time on this weekend or Saturday double header, we have our second guest, who is Councillor Calvin, who is obviously out of a Marvel comic. So,
Obviously.
so Calvin, please introduce yourself and please tell us what ward you represent.
So my name is Calvin. I'm 20 years old. I'm not a councillor yet, but I'm standing in the Dalston ward in Carlisle. I was a councillor about nearly a year ago now for a ward called Thorpe on the Hill in Lincoln. But because I moved out from the area, I had to resign. And I'm training to be a social worker. So health and social care and that sort of thing is what I'm most passionate about. And that's about it, really.
So my first question to you, Councillor Calvin, is what's your superpower?
My superpower, I would say, Champchi, I don't know if you agree, is my charisma, obviously. But no, I don't know. I'd like to be invisible.
Okay.
But I mean,
I don't know. I get like really weird voyeuristic kind of ideas when you say invisible, you know.
no,
But your charisma, I would say your superpower is your charisma. I mean,
thanks.
like your charisma oozes through.
Thanks.
Going to be fair, like
Exactly.
yeah. You're a very easy person to talk to.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So, first question: Are you prepared? Are you prepared?
Yes,
Are you
I am ready.
for the like soft falling like? Okay, what's your favorite color?
My favorite color is purple.
Sexually
UKIP. Dun, dun,
frustrating.
dun. Oh, is that so? I can neither confirm nor deny.
Like a true politician. I'm already loving this tree. I've already loved more than I have in the previous ones. This is brilliant. All right, favorite movies. Don't you dare say Grease, or I just might hit you with a.
I've never actually watched Grease. The movies that I've never watched Grease. I've never watched Titanic. I've never watched Dirty Dancing, and everyone always takes the piss out of me for it. But I've just never found the interest in them.
To be fair, though, mate, you are camper than a handbag full of rainbows. Like
exactly. Yeah, people aren't pissed off with me about it. They're just very confused.
I'm not confused at all. I'm very aware of who you are, and I see it as a breath of fresh air. You know?
Yeah.
Well,
thank you.
That's the difference, and I think that's how you're part of your charisma. I think.
Oh, thanks.
To be fair, and like it's nice, actually. Like I said, breath of fresh air. Favorite movie? Oh, I've already done this. Favorite movie? Did you even tell me what your favorite movie was?
No. I think favorite movie. To be fair, I don't.
You can
I
choose,
don't have one specific one.
If like if you want to choose a favorite stage show or favorite act you want to see. I mean, it's just my closed-minded way of.
I mean, Harry Potter, that series. I love Harry Potter. Probably the books actually more than the movies, to be fair. But I love Scream and that sort of thing. To be fair, actually Saw has got to be up there with my favorite movie.
Oh,
the
you're a big
original
horror movie fan.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, I hate horror movies. I can't deal with them, mate. I'm such a pussy when it comes to the horror movies. Honestly,
I love them.
I just don't know. Like, I mean, when you get like the really, really good classics, you know, like I went to see Ready Player One today, and there was a Kubrick reference in there. I don't want to spoil it in case you haven't seen it, but it's a great movie. If you're into pop culture, it's a fucking
yeah.
my 2-minute review is script was bullshit, very very predictable, but I fucking loved every minute of it.
That's how most movies are. That's how most horror movies are.
It's not a horror movie; it's a pop culture movie.
Is it pop culture?
It's a pop culture movie, yeah, and it's a celebration of pop culture, I would suppose. But there's a Stanley Kubrick horror movie reference in there, and I thought it was brilliant. And I won't spoil it.
No.
But yeah, that was really good. Okay.
I'll have to give it a watch.
Oh mate, go and see it in the cinema. It's really good. I really do. If you're into pop culture, definitely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
totally. It's what made us who we are, right? Like,
exactly.
I think a lot of it would be before your time. To be fair, though, I mean,
oh damn it,
you youngsters, God,
what are we like?
I know, right? Okay, favorite author or book?
Favorite author, right? God, that's a hard one because I love reading. Maybe Stephen King. Love his books. Oh, I'll tell you what though, I'm a big fan of Charles Dickens as well. So yeah, that's sort of like I really like. Actually, do you know what? I'll go and I'll look now. I was just having a fag in the garden, but I'll go and have a look now.
Having a fag in the garden. Who were? Do you just have those fags like laying about in the garden, like
Yeah, they're just in the garden. John Connolly. I love John Connolly. Yeah, probably John Connolly actually. To be fair, or Hannah Kent. They're two of my favourites. I actually went to go when Hannah Kent released her first ever book. I went to go review it. She gave me I got a pass to go to listen to her speak about it, and got one of her books for free. And Burial Rites it was, and it's such an amazing book. It's about the past of capital punishment. Ooh. And about how women sort of.
God, that sounds like a really easy read. Oh, God.
It's sort of about how women sort of helped change the concept of, how they sort of changed the idea of punishment and how capital punishment was a negative. Really, it is a really good book. It is quite hard to get into if you're not into that kind of thing. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then actually she invited me on a radio show with her to talk about it. So yeah.
Get down with your bad self, mate.
You've got to. And then John Connolly, I'm just a massive fan of crime and that sort of thing. And I think because all of his books link and you don't need to read them in a specific order, I just really like that sort of idea as well. But then Stephen King, I'm a big fan of horrors, so.
Well, remember I said Stanley Kubrick earlier? Well, yeah. Stephen King was involved in that scene I was chatting about. So I think you could probably guess, like, but yeah. So you're definitely a horror fiction fan, like.
For sure. Sure.
So, you're very obviously you're running for council right now, and what got you politicized into, because you're like you say you're openly camp, openly gay, and openly kind of out there, and what politicized you? Have you always been politicized, or was it your sexuality that kind of made you get politicized in how you're underrepresented? Or tell me what was your journey?
Well, see, the thing is, for me, it was really sort of I was pushed into politics more than anything. But what really sort of got me started was, and this is probably showing a little bit of my age here. I say as a 20-year-old, but the presidential elections, the first one I can remember between Barack Obama and I forgot what his name was, McCain. That was sort of the first time that I ever sort of really got into politics, because I was sort of, everyone was saying, he's really left wing, he's all this and that, and and I was like, this isn't the left wing like that I understand, that I know of. And that sort of pushed me into
Mm.
Originally I joined the Green Party because I was like, Labour do not represent the left at all to me at that point. And so that was how it sort of started. And then,
Well,
um,
to be fair, like the true Labour Party haven't been the true Labour Party. Well, since Jeremy Corbyn, since the
yeah,
70s, really.
exactly. And I just thought, Barack Obama isn't this massive left wing sort of ideologue that everyone's making out him to be. And I was like, so that's sort of really what pushed me. I mean, I still supported the campaign, because I mean, lesser of the two evils and all that, but I really wasn't sort of, don't know what the word is, excited about the idea of him being president. And so that's how it started. But then, I mean, I sort of got into secondary school, sorry, and going into maybe year 10, and we had to start, the school stopped giving us like books and stuff like that. We had to go buy our own because the school couldn't afford it. And then we became an academy, and it was just sort of like, what is going on? Like, what is happening to our country where our schools can't afford resources? And then going into social work as well, seeing the massive cuts to health and social care. It was just sort of an awakening to me when, as soon as I realized that I wanted to be a social worker, it was sort of like a massive, like, you can't be a social worker under the current circumstances. I mean, we're paying 60 grand a year to get 6 grand, sorry, over the 3 years to get qualified. And then an extra 2 years to specialize, which I don't really know the price of that. I think it's about £1 a year, to then be on 19 grand a year and be marketized in America and Canada. And I just sort of thought to myself, this isn't, I can't go into that profession under the current circumstances, paying this amount of money to then be paid nothing, working 50 hours. It really just sort of pushed me to sort of stand up against austerity and really push for that. And then I got really involved in university politics, became the youngest chairman of the student union. And and that was sort of like how I ended up becoming a selected for the council candidate. So yeah. But I mean, I was always sort of political anyway because I have a lot of family that are politically motivated. So I was always sort of born into the political side, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
But
That makes sense. So like your mum, your dad, like your grandparents, they politicized.
I mean, my mum and dad, they're very honest about their opinions. They're very Labour, and they are members of the Labour Party, and they have been for as long as I can read. I remember when I joined the Green Party, and there was like, "You're wasting your vote. It's a waste of time." Yada yada yada. Join Labour, all that sort of thing. So I remember that. But I mean, my granddad was a private secretary to Callaghan back in the day, and then we married. I didn't marry, but a member of my family married. What's his name? John Burko, and so it was sort of like it was just sort of, I was sort of expected in a way, I suppose, to understand politics, not necessarily get involved, but to understand politics. And so there's that half of the family that's very conservative. I mean, my cousin's just married into the House of Lords, and there's that side that's very conservative.
No.
And then and then there's so that's my paternal family, but like my maternal, very hardline socialist. I mean, my nan and granddad are very, very.
How do you bridge those gaps? Fucking hell, mate.
Christmas is very interesting.
Yeah, I bet.
To be honest, more than what it is sort of this side of the family. You just don't talk to that side of the family. But I mean, but it's strange because my dad is sort of like, his mum was a Conservative councillor turned UKIP, but he's very much a socialist himself. So it's very sort of strange. But I think that's sort of, you got to make up your own opinions sort of thing, I suppose. And he did that and wasn't willing to let his side of the family change his opinions on anything, I suppose, or form his opinions, which is kind of what I'm trying to do as well by going into politics myself.
Right, kind of, it's your world and it's whatever you make of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair enough. There's nothing I hate more than parents or grandparents trying to enforce their own ideologies on their offspring, even though in the back of their own minds, they probably know that it's not the best. But
Yeah.
then when you look at how the Tory party is formed, you know, and how the Lords itself is formed, you know, they've got everything to gain from like
being a conservative,
or being not just being a conservative, but living within their parents and their grandparents' ideologies, and
yeah,
reinforcing their own power, I suppose.
exactly. And as well with them sort of people, they don't really need to worry about. They don't really need to worry about. I think the biggest sort of worry for them is the House of Lords going to end up being an elected Senate? I think that's the biggest worry that them sort of people have.
So would you be up for dumping the House of Lords and making it an elected house?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's something that I've always sort of. I mean, that was, to be fair, going back to your other question, that was another one that I was sort of like, what? I'm very open and honest about the fact that I'm a Republican. It's not something that I hide. I've never hid it from my constituents, anything like that. And I'm very open about the fact that I am a Republican. And I think the starting of that and the start of that reform is by getting rid of the House of Lords and having an elected Senate. Whether that is going to work,
got, kind of echoes of the French Revolution coming out.
I'm trying.
We'll have a guillotine on the Parliament Greens, and just we'll be knocking heads off fucking Lord Sugar. No, I'll be wicked. No, I totally understand. I mean, I think this leads into my next question, which is your political stance, and where do you think you stand on the political spectrum, and how do you see the future of UK politics?
To be honest, I always sort of saw myself as more of a left-wing libertarian, and that was sort of the way that I would always have seen myself until probably Jeremy Corbyn, to be honest. And I suppose this sort of goes against what I've just said about people forming my opinion, but it was sort of that sitting down with myself and realizing that actually, if I get to the point where I'm able to afford to pay 80% tax on my earnings and live comfortably, then there's a reason for that, and that 80% tax, if it's being used properly, then I'm completely okay with that. On the political spectrum, I'm definitely a social democrat. Yeah. I mean,
very difficult. It gets very, very muddy, doesn't it? Very, very.
Yeah, it does, because you sort of sometimes when you're talking about it, you think you're saying one thing, and then 1 minute you're saying another thing. But I mean, yeah, I think in terms of political stance, I'm obviously I'm a socialist, very social democrat.
Okay. You say you're a social democrat, and how would you define that?
How would I define what?
You say you're a social democrat. So, what policies would you?
Okay.
What policies would you say really kind of define your ideological base, I suppose?
So, I mean, obviously the big one is renationalisation. I can't see the issue with that. I don't understand why there is such a massive deal around that. Renationalisation of not only railways but water. Everything that I believe should be in public ownership. But also free access to healthcare at the point of access. That's obviously a massive one as well, which I don't think really anyone can argue against, to be fair. Very anti-EU. I think it's one thing that I have always said. You can't be a socialist and be pro-EU. But I mean, there's loads of different policies, like children should be, in my opinion, should be able to access free school meals. It gets a bit tricky because
I mean, let's just pick over what you've just said. I mean, I'm sure you kind of gathered from the stream that we had together that I wouldn't disagree with any of that. I think anything that's deemed to be a service should be nationalized, and if anybody, if you depend on something to live your life or to be a part of society, for anybody to get a profit from that, I think is immoral. Yeah, because there is no way for you to escape from that. You know,
Exactly.
And I think that is where you look at as capitalism and its moral compass. You know, so. And if you look at this recent free school meal thing, I think this should be kind of a UBI kind of a kind of situation. I think all kids, no matter their income, should be getting a meal at school.
Yeah,
right?
Agreed.
You know, so it shouldn't be dependent on your income. It shouldn't be whether you're on whatever. Every kid, if they're at school, then we give our kids to the school to look after them for 8 hours a day. Then they should be fucking fed and watered, surely.
Yeah,
I mean, this is just like fucking crazy. This is common sense politics, surely.
Yeah, exactly. And when and we've said this before, we said this on the last stream, but when you have got kids going and there's stuff in their pockets, it's a massive wake up call. It should be a massive wake up call to the government, but I don't know why, but for some reason it isn't. But you know, like you said, you're giving your children to people who you are trusting to give them skills for life. But these people, and it's not their fault, can't feed that child one meal. That's all we're asking for, is just one meal. I mean, I personally believe that, you know, they should be given milk and they should be given a snack as well. But, you know, I appreciate that we are in a time of austerity, whether I agree with that or not. But I mean, one meal, really? You know, it's ridiculous that people are paying. I mean, I think someone said in our last stream in the comments that they're paying £40 a week or something for their child to have one meal every day. Realistically, how does that? Yeah, like, to me that doesn't work out. Like, that is a massive amount of money to pay for one meal a day. Me personally, I don't have children, so I don't know, but I would. That's what I would think. But you know, I personally believe that one meal a day is the bare minimum that a school should be getting away with giving a child. You know, a snack and a drink should be given as well. I mean, I wouldn't sit here. I mean, when I go to work, I don't just have one meal. You know, I'll have my meal whenever I have my break, but also during that time as well, I'll be having, you know, an apple here or a banana there or something like that. And I appreciate that schools now they are giving children access to water free, you know. But when I was in school, you know, we didn't have that access. You had to bring your own water bottle. We didn't have water fountains or anything like that. So I appreciate that, you know, there is a progressive change in that sense, but there's
how is that progressive? When I went to school, we always had free milk and we always had access to a water fountain. You know, there was always fruit as well. You know, if you wanted, you know, they had fruit. You know, and this, granted, this was, you know, 30 years ago, but you know, when I was at school, this is the way it was. And if you're getting kids going to school that are starving, and this is a really, really sorry state of affairs. As a teacher, it breaks my heart.
Yeah,
absolutely breaks my heart.
Yeah, exactly. And when you've got teachers en masse saying there needs to be a change, there really does need to be a change. You know, these people, they've got degrees. Some of them have got masters. I mean, some of them have even got PhDs. They know what they're talking about, and some of them have been doing the job for a very long time. You know, I mean, when I went to school, in primary school, I had a teacher, Mrs. Strachan, who she taught my aunt, my mum, me, Now, then she taught my little sister. So, she's been in the
Wow.
job for a very, very long time. They know what they're talking about. They
Mm.
know what's necessary. And they know that not giving children a meal a day is detrimental to their learning. And it is because, I mean, if I was going to school, in fact, if I was going to university and I'm in a lecture for 6 hours a day, if in that 6 hours a day I am not eating at all, I'm not going to be learning. I'm not going to be bothered. All I'm going to be thinking about is I am so hungry, and a child should never have to think that, and then to have to go home as well and think, am I even going to get anything to eat tonight? Or am I going to need to go to the food bank to help mum carry some of the stuff home, and stuff like that. And actually, one of the first policies that I brought in when I became the chairman of the student union was free sanitary products for women,
Of course, yeah.
and as well free sanitary products for, and I never know how the term to use, but trans men who are going from being a female to being a male. So that was one of the first policies that I brought into place, because I think that sort of thing should not be something that anyone has to buy, and food is in, and I think sanitary products and food are in that category that are absolutely necessary for people. So
moving on, because obviously I want to keep this quite short to a certain extent, but I don't want to cut off conversation.
No, it's fine.
But moving on, so there was a bit of a hoo-ha recently about unisex bathrooms, or having a bathrooms with like trans and stuff, right? Now, to give you an idea of how I stand, right?
Yeah.
Before you start, is that unisex bathrooms here in Korea are quite common. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's very, very common that you'll go to a bar or restaurant or whatever, and you will have urinals for the men and cubicles for the women, and they'll be in the same space, right?
Yeah.
And well, because cubicles, basically by their own definition, are kind of unisex in anyway.
Well, yeah.
So I mean, do you understand the hoo-ha, or do you just think that?
I mean, I'll be honest. The first time I heard about this was when on my own podcast I had Jennifer James, and this was sort of the first time I'd ever heard anything sort of the sort. For me personally, no, I can't understand the hoo-ha. I grew up in. Well, actually, I grew up in Leeds, but I mean, I moved to Lincoln, where the nightclubs they're all unisex toilets. The shopping mall, that's unisex toilets, and and the hoo-ha is women need to be protected.
Sure.
And in my entire existence of living in Lincoln, where the unisex toilets are very common, I have never heard of a woman being sexually abused in a toilet. So no, I don't understand the hoo-ha, and I think unisex toilets. What people don't understand is that unisex toilets are not there because we believe that men and women should be able to share the same space. That's not what it is. It's to promote the idea of self. To me, is self-identity, and that if you're someone who identifies as a male but is still going through the process of changing from being a female, you've cut your hair short but you've still got cleavage, and you don't feel comfortable going into a men's toilet because you can't use the urinal, but you don't want to go into a women's toilet because you are not a woman. The only option then is a disabled toilet. And to me, that is quite. I would find it offensive, because they're not disabled people. So, in that sense, I can't understand the hoo-ha around it. I mean, I'm personally.
To be fair, in a pub, I used to use a disabled toilet because because it was the cleanest toilet in the pub.
I mean,
it was really bad.
Guilty as well, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, I can't. For me personally, I can't understand the hoo-ha, but I can understand the point of view of someone that hasn't, particularly females, who haven't grown up in an environment where unisex toilets are normal, I suppose.
Yeah, that's cool. So I mean, there has been a lot of fear, and this is come out of basically we're scared of change. I think that's where the fear comes from. Is that we're scared of change. We've had women's toilets, we've had men's toilets, but there is a portion of it that I do quite understand, and that is that men are smelly bastards. And
oh yeah,
whether you be a woman, a trans woman, or any, well, basically any other bloke, nobody wants to follow another man into the shitter after another man. I mean,
absolutely not.
let's just like lay that on the table. Right? I mean, men are smelly bastards. All right. Let's get that. We've been completely fucking like gone out to sea right now. So let's pull it back in. Okay, what's your favorite color? Did we do this one?
Purple.
Oh yes, of course. Especially frustrated. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Favorite movie? We've done that. Favorite author book? We've done that. What are you reading now? Have we done that?
What am I reading now? Okay, so I'm not sure what the title is. So I've just finished reading Stephen King's The Shining, and I am currently reading Take It Like a Man by Boy George, the autobiography. So that tells you everything you need to know about me, doesn't it?
I would like to say I'm surprised, but you're just a walking, talking kind of like
I would like to say your
flag, aren't you?
Yeah, I would like to say you're surprised as well, but
nah, not at all.
No. But I mean, so I've just finished The Shining, and my next book that I'm going to be reading, I've already read it, but I'm reading it again, is Coalition by David Laws.
So, like, you read a lot of fiction. Do you ever read any non-fiction?
Yeah, to be fair, I do really like autobiographies, particularly sort of political autobiographies, and I'm a big fan of Owen James's work. But non-fiction, I will only ever really read it for either political intent or for my studies,
okay.
or autobiographies.
Can I make a recommendation?
Go for it.
The Spirit Level. You might have heard of it.
No.
It's a Spirit Level by it's called The Spirit Level, you know, like that thing that builders use, you know. Equals
I'm not that camp. No, I am that camp. I am that camp, but I know what a Spirit Level
is. Sorry, mate. Why More Equal Societies Almost Always Do Better by Richard D. Wilkinson and Kate Pickett. It's been a cornerstone for some of my ideologies and some of my ethics, and it helped me kind of reinforce some of my ideas on my ethics. Yeah, and it helped me kind of form a more understanding on how society is and why it is, and you know, so a quick example would be is that, you know, we have massive inequality, okay, in the UK and in the US, but that also leads to things like high obesity rates, high crime rates, high incarceration rates. It also leads to high random violent crimes, and you know, a lot of these are not surprising, but a lot of them kind of are as well. Like, especially like the obesity rates is kind of weird as well. Like way back, you know, the poor used to be skinny, you know.
Yeah.
You know, 200 years ago, if you're poor, you're skinny.
Yeah.
In Dickensian times. But now, if you're poor, you're fat. You know, you're obese. You know,
yeah.
Why is that? You know? And it's and it addresses these, and it's over a 20-year study. So they compiled this book. These guys are not politically engaged as such. These guys are social scientists. So they took studies over a 20-year length, right? over all the OECD countries. So was there like 25 OECD countries? There's a lot of them, you know, and they compare the rates, and they found a correlation between the equality and certain factors, and they said if it has a high level of inequality or inequity, if you like, then you can say yes. Then they're going to have a poor health rate. They're going to have a high obesity rate. They're going to have a high suicide rate. You know, and these are the things that people generally don't think about. So yes, I would very much recommend it. If you ever fancy it, will depress you, and it's quite dense. It is quite dense. But yeah, it's well recommended. All right, okay. After that shitty thing, Beatles, Elvis, or Rolling Stones?
Oh, I would have to say Beatles. Love all three of them, but yeah, lyrical geniuses that are the Beatles. It would have to be. In terms of looks, Elvis Presley, but music, the Beatles for sure. And that's not just because they're British, you know. I just think they were lyrical geniuses back in their day.
They're a bit scouse, though.
They are a bit scouse, but I mean, they sort of changed music, though, didn't they? But yeah,
I thought you might say, you know, Rolling Stones, because you know, fucking, what's his name, Mickey, what's his face, lead singer of Rolling Stones. He was proper camp, though, wasn't he?
Oh, Mick Jagger.
Mick Jagger, yeah.
Oh yeah, he was. Apparently, he had a sexual relationship with David Bowie. But
what, like dancing in the street? Yeah, probably. But you know, it was the 80s, man. Anything goes in the 80s.
Exactly. It's not gay if it's a freeway, right?
yeah, exactly. Mate, dude, there's no such thing as gay or straight. It's just a question of who you fancy, right? That's it. That's all it's all about. Like, so if you like get rid of labels, like, then it's just who do you fancy?
Exactly.
Like, yeah. If I was in David Bowie's time, like there was a time I used to fancy Boy George, but you know, that was before
before you found out.
Yeah. But then I was still like, no.
Give it a go. Try anything once.
Yeah, no, there we go. Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. I'm not sure if you get into this question, but aliens or predator?
To be honest, I don't know what that means.
Fair enough, mate.
I'm not sure what a predator is. So, do you mean like
aliens or predator? Okay. If I can't be asked to go into the history of it.
No. Okay.
Okay. So we've already done political position. So currently, who is your favourite MP? It can be past MP, but if you do choose a past favourite MP, you must choose a favourite current MP.
Right. So, I'm a big fan of Ian Lavery. Yeah. Current, though, who I would say my favourite for sure is Laura Pidcock, for sort of currently in Parliament. Past, it probably would have to be, and this is such a generic answer, but Nye Bevan.
Okay. Well, like, you know who I had on just before you, don't you?
You had George.
Yes. Yeah. And he said there was going to be some.
Who loves Laura Pidcock?
Yeah. All right. Okay. We had a question. I think it was from Bovelvis or someone. I can't remember. And the question was, if you were to choose the next Labour leader, who would it be?
The next Labour leader. See, we talked about this on our stream a couple of weeks ago, and I said that I would rather have a new female leader. And ideally for me, that would be Emily Thornberry, just because of, she's a good speaker, she's very diplomatic, that sort of thing. But who I would personally like to see as a future leader would be Dennis Skinner.
He will never be leader of the party.
No, he said he'd never take up a position in the shadow or a cabinet, didn't he? But I would love to see him as the leader, because I just love the fact that he doesn't go back on anything that he said. Like, I remember when he, during the EU referendum, when they said to him, well, you hate the monarchy, and he was like, yes, I do. And they were like, oh, okay. But yeah, I love that part of him. But I mean, in terms of realistically, it would have to be Thornberry.
It's a very pragmatic choice, actually, I would say. Like, she always does very well on PMQs when she's there. So
yeah,
I do understand that. And I do have a soft spot in my heart. But I just can't look past Pidcock. I really think she's one of the greatest talents we have.
Oh, for sure. She's one to watch. Yeah, she's definitely one to watch. And out of the two, I'd prefer Pidcock. But I mean, yeah, like you said, pragmatically, Thornberry.
Louise Long Bailey would be another one.
Yeah, I love Long Bailey. Yeah,
I think if you look at the front bench, it's all female, really.
And I don't think that's necessarily because Jeremy Corbyn's trying to promote.
No, not at all.
I think it's just because
it's just because they just so happen to be female. It's nothing. Yeah, they're the best talent we have at the moment.
Definitely.
And that's like, when you look at Peacock and Long Bailey, fucking hell, like, I wouldn't fuck.
Like, no. I mean,
out of me. Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, if I was sat on the Conservative benches across from Thornberry, Pidcock, Long Bailey, and Rayner, no, I'm sorry, I'd just walk out.
See, like, now you lost me, mate. Now, Rayner, Shadow, she does education secretary.
Education, yeah.
As Secretary of Education, like, that's her job. Like, that's where she fits.
To be fair, the thing that I like about Rayner, not necessarily because, I mean, obviously in terms of education, it's where she does specialise. So, obviously that's perfect about her.
She's lovely.
She is very nice. But I love the fact that she goes so much out of her way to go to different constituencies to meet people, to find out their stories. I love that about her. And I think it's very, you don't get many sort of MPs that are willing to do that on the front bench or not. So I just think that's great about her, really. And she knows exactly what she's talking about. And you can see that in her face. And I think that's why she gets so pissed off all the time when she's at Prime Minister's questions or in Parliament in general, because everyone just assumes that because she has this accent that she has no idea what she's talking about. But she's such...
She's shit because of a northern accent. I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Like, was it question time when they started laughing at her in the audience? Or something like that because of her accent, and she was like, what? And I think one of the greatest speeches that she's ever made was the plum in my mouth speech. I thought that was brilliant. And I think that was in response to the question time thing. But yeah. I mean, policy-wise, she's not as left as I would like her to be. But I think in terms of her work for Labour, she's great.
I think she is. I mean, she strikes me as a teacher, right? I mean, I'm a teacher. I can smell my own, mate. So, and being lefty as I am, it comes with the job,
Yeah.
If you're a teacher, then you're pretty left. If I ever saw a Tory voting teacher, I'd be like, what the fuck? Who the fuck are you? What are you from this planet? But yeah, it kind of comes with the territory,
Yeah, I think it's similar to social workers, to be fair.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things. It's when I was talking to you the other day, like last Wednesday. It's where your morals influence your ideology.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely.
And that kind of influences how you find a rewarding work or job or whatever.
Yeah.
So this really, I think if she was given the freedom, I think education should be depoliticized, because it ends up being a political football, and just like healthcare, it should be depoliticized and given it to a panel of people that know what they're fucking talking about. So these old retired doctors and consultants, let them form a committee, and then they can fucking deal with it. And like all teachers, once they retired, whether they run a school, whatever, you have a chance to get onto a committee and then be on the committee and then be externalized from the political football game that seems to happen every fucking election or by-election or whatever it is. Because you're dealing with people's future and people's health, which are two of the most important things in life. But okay, before we go to the final question, let's put it to the floor. Okay. We've got all of 8 people watching, so as you can tell, we've taken the Twitter by storm, and the tubes of you, the use of tubes, right?
Is in meltdown.
It's in absolute fucking cave-in stand. I'm surprised. I'm very surprised that the servers up at Tubes Heaven can stand our traffic. So
I agree.
Okay. Okay. This is from George Hayes. Who is the most attractive member of the New Left Voice?
Who is the most attractive member of New Left Voice? I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit, what's the word? I forgot what the word is. I would have to say
bias.
There's a little bit biased. That's it. But there's one called Calvin. I think he's quite attractive. But Asim's definitely second place. I can't remember who the other one is, so I couldn't say. I hope that answers your question. What was his name again?
George. It was George.
Yeah, there you go, George. I hope that answered your question.
Okay. The person running your avatar, as in NLV, says George and Calvin are better looking than me, so I assume that's
Asim.
Yeah, I think so. I try to avoid using names on my channel, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. George did it loads, but
damn it.
Yeah, it's okay.
This was youngsters.
It's okay. I love George. Isn't George wicked? I love his little southwestern accent as well.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? It makes me sound so much more posher. I love it.
You are proper posh, though, mate. Like, to be fair,
I would disagree.
You're proper posh. Right? Where did you go to university?
Pardon?
Where did you go to university?
So I go to the University of Cumbria. So there we go. Not that posh. Yes. So I'm a northerner. No, I'm not. I'm not a northerner. No, I am a northerner. I was born in Leeds. I lived in Leeds until I was 11. But as you can imagine, living in Cumbria, my voice is the start of many conversations. Especially when I say I'm not that posh.
Yeah, you are a bit, mate. It's your articulation gives you away, mate.
Shit.
Yeah, I know. You're gonna have to work on your fucking cutting off your vowels, mate. Innit?
I know. I'm gonna have to start talking like this.
Shafted says, I'm gay too, but I'm an ugly 40-year-old gay. Oh, I doubt it's Shafted, mate. Look, we're all gay here, man. Doesn't matter.
Well, I mean,
Either
it's not a
everybody's
problem.
gay or nobody's gay. Like I said, it's just a matter of who you fancy. If you don't
Exactly.
fancy women, fair enough. I don't fancy men. I think they're ugly bastards. Simple as
to be honest, I must agree with you on that one. But I mean, the bigger question out of that is why is a 4-year-old watching this stream?
What?
Did he say
40 year old.
Oh, I thought he said 4.
No, 40. Can't you see the chat, man?
Look, technology is not my thing. As long as you can hear me and I can hear you.
This. I have noticed this. Oh, by the way, people, this is why we were 6 minutes late. Is because matey couldn't work out how to click the link. He ended up in some random bloody room.
Yeah, so Champchi sent me this link and I was like, clicked it, and then it's saying redirecting, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go again. So I clicked it again, and then I'm in this random room, not a clue what the hell is going on. And I was
what
like,
are they talking about?
I don't know. I didn't join the live thing. I put mine on mute. I couldn't really understand a word anyone was saying, and I was like, "Oh, Champchi must be here somewhere. It must be like a joint Q&A." And then you were like, "Why are you not in my chat?" And I was like, "Oh shit."
Do you know, I did that the other day, right? And I ended up in some random room, and there were like proper Holocaust deniers and shit like that, and they were saying, look at the evidence for Holocaust denials, and they were saying this is so obvious that it was such a hoax and stuff. I'm like, I was just literally plastered. You could have. I was that fucking amazed. You could have back of the wall. I was just like, what the fuck is this shit, mate?
I mean, I don't get how it happens. Like, how do you just end up in a random room? Because
I know.
It's a specific link, isn't it? Like like your specific link. So it's so strange how it happens, but that's the internet, I suppose. But I don't get how anyone can deny the Holocaust happened. I mean, I wasn't there, but I'm fairly certain it did.
Part of when I did my degree, part of it was studying kind of journalistic photography and how it's gone through the ages, and how especially through the First and Second World Wars, and the photos that come out and how they had an impact on society. And these are kind of ideas that we would go through, and the kind of photographic evidence I've seen of the Holocaust is, and it's kind of journalistic stuff, and it's also artistic stuff that unless you look for it as an artist, you generally wouldn't see, because it's pictures that people take. Like there's one picture of just a pile of shoes, right? And you're just like, okay, yeah, it's a pile of shoes, but then it's just like these are the shoes recovered from Auschwitz in 1945, and you're just like,
the sort of the connotation to what that means.
Yeah, and then this pile of shoes is like a mile high, and you're just like, oh my god, this makes me feel sick. The other thing is the steps walking up to. Let me find this picture, because I think everybody should see this picture. Let me just find it for you, and then I'll share it. The Auschwitz stairs.
Have you ever been to Auschwitz?
No, I don't. No, I don't want to. A friend of mine, like on the same course, I did photo arts. A friend of mine did
Yeah.
journalism, and he did a tour in his final year of all the concentration camps, and fucking hell, some of the pictures he came back with were fucking harrowing, and I
Yeah.
really don't want to visit that same place in my head.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
My yeah, no, I get it. My nan went, God, it would have been about 5 or 6 years ago, because my granddad's brother was a prisoner of war,
Mm,
and they went to sort of, I don't know what the word is, but sort of maybe come to terms with it, sort of thing. They went over, and she said it was the most eerie place to like walk around, and apparently a lot of it's sort of like boarded up. You're not allowed in there. Like, she doesn't know why, but you're just not allowed to go into like certain places. And yeah, apparently it's just really eerie. I would never want to go myself.
yeah. Oh God, no. It would be fucking horrible. And to say that I can't find a picture now.
Oh, damn it.
Damn it!
I
Go,
mean,
go on,
like
go on.
the war and that sort of stuff is still something that we don't talk about in my family, just because my granddad just really hates talking about it. And the fact that anyone would want to dismiss what happened to me is just crazy. I mean, my great nan, she died, when was it? Not the Christmas just gone, the one before that, and she was 107 when she died. And she used to tell me some stories about it, and I'd be like, what? You know, crazy.
How do you spell Auschwitz? I'm interested.
Auschwitz. I'm not sure.
W-I.
Ash. Witz. I think it's got a Z in there somewhere.
All right, let's try that. Ah, yeah, found it. Well done.
Thanks.
Right. Good job. Oh, shit. Yeah. All right, so it's. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit before I share it. Right, so this is one of the photographs that I studied for my degree. One more time. There we go. All okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Right, so you see this picture. It's a very simple picture, right? But can you see the slumps in the stone?
Yeah, where it slumps down. Yeah.
Yeah. So this gives you an idea of how many people had to just walk up. So it's a very simple photograph,
Yeah.
but it gives you the impression of how many people had to walk up these steps.
Yeah.
And you know, it, like I said, it really breaks my fucking heart.
Yeah. It's madness, isn't it?
And people, like I said, I stumbled into a fucking Holocaust scenario room. I have no idea how I did it, but yeah. Oh my God, how can
It's
you
crazy
deny
that
it?
people, yeah, it's crazy that people can deny it.
Uh,
But I mean, people would just look at those photos and, to them, it's just some stairs, or to them, it's just some shoes, like you said. And realistically, it's not.
uh,
I mean, I live with two Tories, and one of the first things they said to me was, Hitler was a socialist, wasn't? Did you know
oh,
that?
fuck off, really?
And I was like, what? Are you sure about that? I mean, he tried to run on a socialist platform, but that's how he managed to get in. He was running allegedly for the working people. That's how he got in. He wasn't a socialist at all. Neither was Stalin.
No.
But yeah, that was one of the first things that they said to me.
Oh, have you managed to bring them round, or do you?
One of them now votes Labour, but she's still. Well, I don't know if she's just saying that. One of them allegedly votes Labour, but yeah, and the other one just no. There's no trying to talk around from it. But and they're students as well. Would you believe? So
there we go. George Hayes just said Hitler being a socialist has been debunked time and time again. Oh yeah, um, it's basically like saying that North Korea is democratically socialist. Yes, it's the name of the party, but it's really not.
No, exactly, and anyone can run it on any platform for anything, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they believe. You know, I forgot what his name was after the Second World War. The conservative who succeeded Winston Churchill when he stood down. I think he was obviously running on a conservative platform, and there was an interview in a newspaper where it was sort of like from before he was prime minister, before he got into politics, when he was at Eton, and he made a speech or something about how he believes in universal healthcare and that the railways and things like that should remain nationalised. And there was an argument that he just ran on a conservative platform because they were seen as winning the war.
Eden.
That was it Eden? I feel like it was Eden.
Harold Macmillan?
No, it wasn't Macmillan. It was definitely before that.
Before that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Eden.
It must have been Eden.
Yeah.
It must have been Eden. It was when Churchill stood down. It was the one that succeeded him for the Conservative Party. Yeah. I think he was Foreign Secretary for a while during the war, I think. So, yeah, I think it was Eden. But, yeah, there was sort of like in a newspaper, it's a really old article where he was at speaking at Eton because he was an Etonian. And, yeah, he said, and he was basically saying that universal healthcare is a necessity, yada, yada, yada. I mean, this was back when he was younger. This was when he was like 16, 17. He made a speech. And then there's an argument that he wasn't actually a conservative. He was a socialist and all this.
So what's your, like a lot of socialist ideas are dependent on technology. And for socialism to actually, become an idea that's worth rooting for, it does depend on technology. We tried it before without technology, and it's failed, because it's ended up in things like Stalinism, Maoism, and a lot of people have died, which is not a really good look for socialism.
No, exactly.
These are arguments that you've had to fight for before.
Yes, for sure.
But speaking as a socialist, I mean, how do you think technology can help us in the future?
Well, I think that, I mean, obviously, I'm not great at technology, but that's in a very basic sense of it, and that's just me personally. But you've got to look at the fact that technology in this day and age is such a big thing that has such a massive market that, if as a socialist we started using technology, and it's particularly businesses, like Apple, Amazon, Google, those sort of stuff, that like the internet basically, if they started paying the taxes, then automatically we would have a hell of a lot more money to well, even just going back to the free school meal things, but particularly National Health Service, all that sort of thing, but also nuclear disarmament. We need to disarm ourselves.
Fuck me, $200 billion over 5 years, £200 billion, sorry, over 5 years. That's a shit ton of R&D. We don't need to invest in nuclear weapons, surely.
Well, I would argue that we don't. I can understand the arguments why, particularly whilst we've got Trump as president. But for me, that's something that we're never going to use. It's something that we're never going to need to use. So why are we wasting money? Do you see what I mean? Like, why are we wasting that amount of money?
Well, it's Peter Hitchens' words, which really makes me laugh because he's someone that I really fucking hate because he went from the far left to the far right, well, conservative right, I would say, to say that it's to reinvest in Trident is to insure your house against aliens, but not insure your house against fire or destruction or earthquake or something like that. You know, it seems like it's a relic of the Cold War. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it's something that's never ever going to really ever be used. I mean, I can't think of any scenarios in my head where we would have to use Trident. So to me, it's a no-brainer. You know, we have so many treaties and so many agreements with other countries that we will never use it, that it will never need to be used. And the thing about it as well is that it's not tested. You know, it's and when it is tested, that's when it gets really tricky. I mean, we saw that with North Korea, didn't we? When they were testing some of their missiles, that it allegedly nearly caused a war between America and North Korea. So it's one of those things that we can never test it and we can never use it, but we're still going to invest in it. So to me, it just doesn't make sense. But I mean, to go back to your question about technology, yeah, you know, technology is a massive in socialism, not only in the growth of supporters of socialism, but also in terms of taxation. And the thing is as well, technology now, I mean, it is such a massive part of everything that we do that you can put any tax on it and people are willing to pay it. And, you know, people always say this argument about taxing companies, raising the taxes for corporations. People are always like, well, they'll just go over and go to another country. Well, the thing is, they can't, because if they want to continue operating in the United Kingdom, regardless of whether they're in another country, they've still got to pay our taxes, because that's what corporation tax is.
You're talking about capital flight, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, there are countries within the G7 that have much lower corporation tax than we have. If there was going to be capital flight, it would have happened already. Yeah,
exactly.
It would have happened a long time ago.
Exactly.
The fact that they say, oh yeah, when the Labour Party says we're going to bring it back up to 2010 levels, oh yeah, you're going to get capital, everybody's going to leave. Well, no, sorry, they would have left already.
Yeah, and not only that, but bringing it back up to 2010 levels would still be lower than what it was previously anyway.
Exactly right, exactly.
So, you know,
absolute cod shit.
Exactly.
So I don't mean to bring fish into it. I'm sorry, fish. It's okay. Don't worry.
Don't bring up fish into a northerner.
Yeah, I know. Like it's all good. Fish.
We've been well and truly did over.
Hey, look, I'm the political fish. I'm on the fish's side. You know?
Exactly.
So if there's any yeah, Thatcher had 52% corporation tax. Yeah, I know, it was massive. Nice one, George. Like, if there's any more questions, if not, then I'll go into the final questions. Are you strapped in? Have you fastened your seatbelt for this final question?
Absolutely.
You'll be judged on this question.
Oh God.
For the next 100 years, like your entire political career will be judged on this question.
This could make me or break me.
Oh, hang on. We got some questions right in there at the last moment from George Hayes. He says, top 3 Labour leaders pre-Corbyn.
Pre-Corbyn? Oh God, see, this is difficult. I don't know my history as well as George does.
George is really good, isn't he?
He's great.
He's such a little shit. I hate him for it. He's better than me too.
I think definitely Tony Blair. Joking. Leader. Oh, this is a difficult one.
Shall I help you?
So we would have
Kia.
to. I was going to say we'd have to start off with Kia.
Yeah.
For sure. Let's think. Ooh.
On next one, he's already laid them out. Kia first. Second Atlee.
Oh, for sure, Atlee. Yeah. God, that's so hard because I don't know my history that well. So the ones that I know are sort of ones that I would. At Michael Foot. I liked Michael Foot. Obviously, I didn't like him back then because I wasn't born. But his principles.
1982, 1933, yeah. Fair enough.
For sure. But he was just before his time. And this is what, going back to the technology question, he was just before his time in terms of that. I've got to be honest when I say this, I'm not as, I quite liked Brown. I've got to be honest.
Brown did a lot of daring things, and he did it under the carpet. I mean, he nationalised half the UK's banks, It's a shame that it's a shame it wasn't carried forward because, as soon as Osborne got in power, he sold off all those shares that we nationalised, which was really, really shitty. And this is something that nobody talks about. Nobody talks.
Yeah, no, exactly.
What was it? RBS, Lloyd's TSB.
Yeah, Lloyd's. Yeah.
I mean, these are some massive banking corporations in the UK that got nationalised. Up to 50% of them, were bailed out and nationalised.
Yeah.
And yet Osborne sold them off for a pittance, absolute pittance.
Exactly. So I'm not that anti-Brown as people would think I am, and it's the same with Miliband as well. And I've said this before in previous streams. I like Miliband for the fact that he is very happy to get behind any leader of our party, regardless of whether he agrees with their views or not. And I think that's a really great. Obviously, it goes without saying that you should always support the leader of your party. But obviously, in the current time, I just think that's a really great quality for him to have, that he supports Corbyn and he's very vocal in the fact that he supports Corbyn. But yeah, in terms of top three, it would have to be Kia, Bevan, and probably Atlee.
Atlee, okay. All right, yeah. So I'm gonna okay, so last question. Sorry, I'm gonna cut the chat out.
Sorry, lads.
Sorry, guys. By the way, I'm thinking of doing a wrap-up stream. So if George and Asim want to join us, we'll do a wrap-up, and we'll talk about all of these. But the final question is, what is your chosen weapon in a zombie apocalypse?
The Bible. I'm joking. Chosen weapon in a zombie apocalypse. Oh, that is a good question. What would your chosen weapon be?
It's not about me, mate.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
I'll tell you in the wrap-up.
Right.
But,
yeah.
Okay, right, but it's all about you now, mate.
Let's try and think logically. Right. So, a sword or anything like that wouldn't work because they can still operate because they're dead. So that wouldn't work. A gun, that wouldn't really work either.
No ammo.
No ammo. That's true. It was gonna have to be trident then, isn't it? I'm joking.
Like, take off and nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
In a zombie apocalypse, what would be my chosen weapon?
You've seen The Walking Dead, haven't you?
No, I don't watch that sort of stuff. Do you know what? Actually,
you're a horror movie fan, but you don't like zombie flicks. What the fuck is wrong with you?
No, I do. I just don't watch The Walking Dead. But do you know the superpower of being invisible?
Yeah.
That would be great in that time.
Well, no, sorry, zombie apocalypse. So no superpowers, mate.
Oh, for fuck's
You're.
sake. My chosen
Tell
weapon
me
would
for
have
fuck's sake, mate.
my chosen weapon would have to be in that case. Oh, that's such a hard question because nothing would work, would it? Would just have to be a hammer. I just have to beat the shit out of them with a hammer.
That's a really good answer, by the way. No, honestly, to be fair, like I don't mean to be the judge of all zombie apocalypse weapons or anything, but from some of the responses I've had, I that's definitely up there on the top. A claw hammer, because it doesn't just bearing in mind it's a zombie apocalypse, so you're in a bug out situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so you need something that's a weapon, but it's not just a weapon, it's a tool, right? So you can use it to pry open, and you can use it, to open.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a tool, and it's a weapon. And there's a really good Korean movie you should watch called Old Boy. Have you seen Old Boy? And no, he shows you how to remove teeth with a claw hammer, and that's a really great scene. But on
sounds it.
But on that note, this has been absolutely brilliant, Calvin. Honestly, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've lost my arse off from start to finish. You've been a great guest.
Thank you.
Yes, you are right. You do have a lot of charisma, and I do hope you do become Labour councillor. What's the ward that you're running for?
Dalston.
How can we find you on YouTube or Twitter? Please plug.
So you can go to our Twitter, which is New Left Voice Podcast, or you can find me on Twitter, which is at Calvin Rodgerson. That is probably about it. I do have a Facebook page, which again is just Calvin Rodgerson. If anyone wants to, get in contact with me on that. So yeah,
I certainly will. Yeah, I'll come and shoot you a message and say
thanks.
Yeah, no worries.
You're probably the only person. That'd be exciting. I'll finally have a message.
Nice one, mate. Nice one.
Everyone will be like, "Who's messaging you? You never get text messages." Oh, fuck off. It's just Champchi. Just Champchi.
Yeah, definitely. So what I want to do is, when we leave this, is I'm going to drop a link. I'm not sure if you've got any time to carry on, but I want to do a wrap up with George. George, you up for it? I'll drop it in the Bullet Club, and let's just do a wrap up and
yeah, for sure,
and have a laugh. I definitely need to wind down.
No, yeah, for sure, I'm up for that.
All right, nice one. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you
for the questions. It's been a privilege and an honor. Nice one, guys. Goodbye.